I kind of survived the first week. I'm still here. First week is done, or the first 12 days are done because we kind of started in the middle of the week on the 1st of January. The idea is to first show you the books that I went through and the courses or the sections of those courses that I went through. And later, if you want to skip all that, in the next chapter, I'll show you how much time I have spent on each book and how much time I have spent on each and every course. And at the end, the two improvement goals that I made for myself, first was weight loss and the second one was fasting. So if you're interested in the numbers, skip ahead. If you're interested in the courses, stick around. The course that opened the new year was College Algebra with the Math Sorcerer. I went through, let's say, a lot of sections here: linear equations, rational equations, complex numbers, quadratic equations, radical equations, substitution techniques, absolute value inequalities. It's a good course. There are not a lot of, let's say, problems for you to solve, so you kind of need to substitute it with something. It goes by fast. It doesn't explain a lot of things in detail, which is good if you only need algebra for, let's say, physics or whatever you're planning on doing next. I substituted this course for additional content in a book that I will show you next. The next course that I went through is actually this book. It is College Algebra by Blitzer. It's the international edition. I bought it used for around 35 euro. I thought that international editions meant that like it's in the metric system or the problems are in the metric system, but it actually means that it's the same book written on or printed on cheaper paper, and it's really cheaper than the original edition. It's a good book. It is painfully slow to go through it. I want to solve every problem. I want to solve, let's say, every example that it has. I'm only on the 32nd page, which is 1/3 of the whole prerequisites for algebra. It is around 800 pages, so it will take me some time in order to go through this, but it's a good book. It's really detailed, and I actually highly recommend it. The second to last course that I went through was Japanese from Zero. I used the book and I used the YouTube videos by the author. It's actually really, really good. I did it in the past, and this time I went further than all of my previous attempts at this course. The things that I went through was mainly numbers, so I think you go from 1 to around 100 million. Pronunciation, first meeting, coming and going, the vocabulary groups for all of these sections, so the words that you need to learn. And at the end, I did some repetition for an hour in order to, let's say, learn all of the things mentioned in these sections. The last course was Intro to Computer Science by CS50 or by Harvard. It's a really, really good course, actually. It was painfully slow also because the lectures are really, really long. So I only went through two lectures, so Scratch lecture video and the C lecture video. Did the problem set 0 and the problem set 1 for both of these lectures. The interesting thing that I saw in this problem set 1 was that the lecture covered a lot of things, but the problem sets went way, way further, let's say, on the things that you needed to implement with the code. So it taught you the basics, but you needed to add to those basics a lot in order to do the problem sets. So yeah, a really good course. And finally, the books that I read. So I read 3 books. For some of you, this might not be a lot, but for me, it is like a lot to read 3 books in a week and a half. The first book that I read was A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking. I liked the book. I really, really liked it, but a lot of concepts went way above my head, so I think I will need to reread it later when I learn a little bit more about physics. The second book was Tokyo Ghoul 1. So I kind of decided that between each and every book, I will read one manga in order to, let's say, relax. And it's a cool story. I liked it. I want to see where it will develop. And finally, the third book that I read was also from Stephen Hawking, The Grand Design. It is not that, let's say, complicated as the A Brief History of Time, but it kind of gives you some good ideas about where everything comes from, or why did the universe start, or how the universe, let's say, develops. A really good read if you're interested into, let's say, space things. So for the numbers, I did college algebra with the Math Sorcerer for 5 hours, college algebra Blitzer for 5 hours, the book, Japanese from 01, you guessed it, 5 hours again, and finally the Introduction to Computer Science by CS50, it was 7 hours, so 2 additional hours for the Introduction to Computer Science. In grand total, that was 22 hours of learning, focused learning, because for each and every hour I put a timer on and make sure that I'm not disturbed by anything as the timer goes on, and I get a 10-minute break between the hours. For the books, A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking, it took me 4.5 hours to read. Tokyo Ghoul 1, the manga, it took me 1 hour to read it. And finally, The Grand Design, 2.5 hours to read it. And that grand total came up to 8 hours. So 8 hours of reading for 12 days, it's kind of good for me. I read some days for an hour, some days for half an hour, and I took the 2 Fridays off because I kind of wanted to relax. And finally, the last two goals that are not related to reading or courses, the fasting part. So I fasted for 201 hours in the last 12 days, which resulted in 3.1 kilograms lost. You'll see it in the pounds here probably. And yeah, that's a lot. I think it's kind of beginner's luck, or people call it water weight, but we'll see it in the next week. So that's it for the first week. I think I did a lot. I managed to get myself to do it. All of the courses and the books and everything will be linked down below in the video description if you want to maybe take on the challenge yourself. And the next video will be scheduled for the 20th of January. So if you're watching this in the future and there is no week 2 video, I failed already. So see you on the other side. Bye.